New this morning, got questions being raised about the Louisiana Public Service Commission's decision-making process. Records obtained by our partners, the Gulf States Newsroom, show that an Entergy executive wrote motions that commissioners later adopted pretty much verbatim, talking about cases involving major industrial projects. Going to talk about this morning with Drew Hawkins with Gulf States Newsroom, who obtained those records, has been reporting on that story. Also, Drew, we had you in a couple weeks ago for another explosive story you've been following, those NDAs that are all over the state of Louisiana and our local and state leaders signing them. And so we want to start there with the very latest on that, because you've got some news regarding the Letlow campaign.
Absolutely. Good to be back. Always good to see you, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
You always got that stuff on, man.
Because Drew's coming in, man. You got to look good because you're reporting solid.
Well, I appreciate it. So, yeah, as you mentioned, Julia Letlow, the representative who's also running for Congress, running for Senate here, yeah. Right? The Trump-endorsed candidate. She signed an NDA with Meta, and then within months bought stock in Meta. She appeared at the public announcement in December, but in that window between signing the NDA and announcing the project, she bought multiple stocks in Meta and NVIDIA, which makes the computer chips that the Meta data center will use, right? She then continued to make trades and didn't disclose any of those for over a year, which is well past what's a 45-day deadline under what's known as the Stock Act, which basically prevents members of Congress from making trades using information they would gain through their official position. It's the same NDA that Governor Landry signed.
What does the Letlow campaign have to say about this?
Well, I reached out to them. Representative Letlow did not agree to an interview. They would not answer specific questions, and they issued sort of a general statement saying that she doesn't manage her stock portfolio and had no involvement. And that's sort of a pretty common defense that you'll hear from members of Congress when they are accused of things like insider trading.
Right. And zeroing in on this, when you were on the last time talking about the NDA that the governor signed for Meta, I was reading the comments to this. And, you know, a lot of people said, hey, you know, we need to look into this because we need to know about it. But there were a couple people who said, OK, well, so what? So before we continue, I want you to answer the so what.
The so what is, I think Louisianans deserve to know when a project that will impact them, whether that's their water, their electricity, their community, if they live near these projects, the construction, the truck traffic impact, I think they deserve to know, you know, what's coming before it already arrives.
And that gets us to the latest reporting here regarding an Entergy executive essentially writing a decision verbatim that was ultimately approved by the Public Service Commission.
Yes, I mean, this goes to larger transparency concerns around these large projects, but really, it all begins with the Meta data center, which is that $50 billion data center in Richland Parish.
Right.
So I obtained records, I got draft motions that commissioners file into the record in support of these projects. And if you look at the metadata of those documents, which is sort of like digital breadcrumbs that tells you who created it. It shows that it was a Entergy vice president who wrote it, then emailed it to commissioners Eric Skrmetta and Foster Campbell, who then filed it into the record to support these projects, essentially word for word. So they're just taking Entergy, the industry that the PSC is supposed to be regulating, and then just filing into the record, you know, those motions supporting those projects.
And that executive from Entergy was Lawrence Hand Jr. I want to talk about why this matters here, at least in your reporting. One of the changes here that apparently Hand replaced the phrase, quote, maintaining affordable rates with ensuring cost-based affordable rates. So you spoke to an expert who filled us in on why that change matters in terms of liability.
Yeah, I mean, words matter, right? And this seems like a small two-word change, but it does hold a lot of significance according to those experts. Really, this gets to the idea of the precedent that this Meta data center is setting. So in that PSC ruling, which you guys covered very well as well, you know, the PSC overturned a judge's ruling that Meta has to turn over information about how it calculated the number of jobs it will create at the data center and the amount of power it will use. So this just gets to that larger issue of transparency there. I mean, if the PSC is filing in support using Entergy's language, that's a problem. And then when the PSC, you know, in future cases when things are decided down the line, they'll be able to point back to that wording change and say, no, all along, we've said this, right? So it is a big adjustment, even if it seems minor.
And what's interesting about this, when you talk to members of the PSC, it doesn't really matter their party affiliation. They don't necessarily see this as a big problem.
No, and I will say, too, and this is fair, that it is common for commissioners to exchange language with the people that they're regulating, also with the interveners, the advocacy groups that are concerned.
Right.
It's common to run language by them and say, hey, am I missing anything? Are the dates wrong? Is the information wrong? What's different here is that it is wholesale taking a ghost-written motion from the utility and then filing it into the record.
Right. You spoke to Commissioner Devontae Lewis here, the Democrat on the panel, and he says that it doesn't necessarily trouble him. It surprises him, essentially, saying that he doesn't like the specifics of all of this, but that it happens often. What's the takeaway there?
I think the idea is, like, he said that he's not surprised, but he's a little bit shocked.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And what he's getting at is that he works on the commissions.
Right.
He knows how things work.
Right.
And the way he put it to me was like, this is not unexpected. Is it okay? No. But it is relatively commonplace at the Public Service Commission, which is really a problem, he said.
That's a slippery slope. It's one of those it's not right, but it's okay situation. So what's my takeaway as a voting member of this society?
Well, I think the common differential here, whether it's for NDAs or ghost-written motions, is that this is common. And some of the comments, you mentioned comments on some of the videos earlier.
That's what
Some of the
folks said, yeah.
some of the comments I've seen are saying if something's common, that doesn't mean it's necessarily okay.
Right.
Right? So whether it's common or not, bringing this information to light, letting people see it, and then understand what's happening changes that argument of, is it okay, even if it's common?
Right, including showing the proof here in the form of the email that you were able to obtain, showing that that executive did offer some suggestions, as they put it, saying, quote, I am sure you will revise this as you determine appropriate, but as you're reporting, there weren't many revisions.
There weren't many changes at all, including biographical information. So Entergy is essentially telling the commissioner's life story.
Right, and we're looking at that right now, right here. So what's next for you, Drew?
More of this.
Yeah.
Probably we'll be talking to you soon about more stories, because the well just seems to get deeper and deeper the more you get into it.
All right, well, always good that you come in and fill us in on what you've been working on. Drew Hawkins, senior reporter here from Gulf States Newsroom, one of our reporting partners, in walking us through on his latest investigation, several here. NDA with the Letlow campaign, Senate candidate Julia Letlow, but also some decisions involving Entergy and the Public Service Commission and how they're able to have some influence there. So a lot of important stuff to get to. Drew, always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Brendan.